Hello, everyone, fellow fighters and friends. This is Angelina, and thanks for joining me today. While the purge of Zhang Youxiang and Liu Zhenli is drawing global attention, Xi Jinping is doing more than issuing high profile threats of continued purges. Behind it, the scenes, a far more dangerous system is being built. One aimed not at generals, but at ordinary grassroots Chinese citizens. Because this is the real story. She is tightening control over every wallet and every voice before the next financial shock hits. On January 31st, the CCP's Ministry of Public Security released a draft for discussion. Uh, the Cybercrime Prevention Act, the Cybercrime Prevention and Control Act. And then a day later, on February the 1st, the state media blasted Xi Jinping's financial superpower theory, then doubled down with propaganda lines like the creator will ultimately prevail. A lot of people treat these as separate events, but I'm telling you, they're not. There are two gears in the same meat grinder. One, the financial war is the shell, the public narrative. And then the Cybercrime Act is the core, the enforcement mechanism. Together, they point to one objective. Before a financial crisis erupts, the CCP wants a comprehensive digital harvest of all people and all the money. Then, what is the real subtext? Chinese style finance, quote, means. That means escalation. Because on the surface, the CCP's argument sounds reasonable: financial security, risk prevention, and development, quote, quote, quote. But you have to read between the lines. So called Chinese style financial development is really a signal that the CCP is escalating its financial war against the United States and preparing to survive any consequences. So today we're going to strip away the facade and who is designing this trap and who will pay the ultimate price. Well, the cult of personality, what Xi Jinping says, party leadership means Xi Jinping's absolute control. Whether it's the military, finance, or cyberspace, the CCP's first rule is always the same: uphold the party's, the CCP's absolute leadership. So, but what is the party? And who is the party, right? Let's stop pretending. The CCP has become the Xi family party. So absolute party leadership is simply Xi Jinping's absolute personal rule. Xi has blurred the line between himself and the CCP. And then the CCP has blurred the line between the party and the Chinese people and China as a country. So that confusion is fatal. The CCP is merely an organization, a cult, an ideological group that seized the state power in 1949. Actually, they stole the state power in 1949. In a normal country, a ruling party should be no more above the nation. then the property management company is above the residents it serves. Make sense? And now Xi has placed himself above the CCP. Everything must be personally deployed, personally directed, and personally commanded. Xi equals the party CCP. So China becomes his personal fiefdom, and the Chinese people get dragged along. That's very unfortunate, but that's the fact. And that's the reality we have to face. What used to be propaganda language for foreign audiences is now being turned into enforced reality through finance, new technology, and cyber regulation, training every Chinese person inside or outside China to Xi's war chariot. It's not an exaggeration to say the Chinese nation has reached a moment of extreme danger. Xi's financial superpower with Chinese characteristics isn't about modern finance. It's about building a financial planned economy, a command system. The first move is simple. Put the wallets of 1.4 billion people under party management. By administrative force, the CCP tries to cut off free flow with international markets and turn finance into a political weapon. Then comes the next layer, weaponizing resources. Rare earth derivatives are the clearest and simple example, right? Rare earths exist worldwide, but the CCP refined rare earth derivatives at a horrific low cost, and China's environment and Chinese lives, and then turned that capability into leverage against Europe and the United States. Let's be crystal clear. Chinese people pay the price. The CCP seizes the technology, and Xi Jinping uses it as a weapon to make enemies around the world, just to consolidate his personal authority. Xi preaches against protectionism, but uses global dependence on Chinese rare earth processing to issue supply cut threats. If you don't obey, I choke your neck. This isn't a business, is it? It's modern piracy. He wants to use monopoly power to force Chinese rules into global standards. That's a very desperate gamble. China's domestic financial system is already thundering with crisis, and the domestic government debts, real estate stress, systematic risks. So the financial superpower quote strategy needs leverage. She wants to use rare earth as hard currency to blackmail Western countries into concessions on tariffs and financial sanctions, which he basically can foresee it's coming down the road. And in plain language, he is willing to slow down the global technological progress to support his financial ambitions. But this weaponization is a double-edged sword. Xi Jinping thinks he's choking others, but he's actually forcing the world to de-China and find alternatives. And they are. On February the 2nd, Japan's Cabinet Office and JAMSTC announced that they successfully extracted a rare earth-rich seabed mud near Minamotorishima at a depth of about 6,000 meters. That news caused sensation for a reason. The CCP's blockade has triggered vigilance and action from the US, Europe, and Japan, and breaking China's monopoly is now only a matter of time. So, who pays for the CCP's strategy? This hurt the enemy 800, cost yourself 1,000 approach. Who is paying the price? China's polluted environment won't recover for centuries. And countless Chinese people have developed cancer or lost their lives because of the toxic cost of rare earth refining. And Xi pursues a global hegemony. The Chinese nation is the greatest victim, and the Chinese people suffer the greatest. Strategic resources are only one weapon, and the most brutal, the most bloody weapon is this: the labor value and property of all Chinese people. Local debt is exploding under, and the real estate bubble is bursting. So, under the banner of financial superpower, quote, the CCP forces banks to feed capital into so-called new quality productive forces, quote. But in reality, they are using national savings to fill great leap forward style technology black holes. And externally, Xi Jinping wants to challenge the dollar system and build a red financial bloc. He knows he can't beat the United States on financial infrastructure, software, system integrity, or trust. So he plays the surround the cities from the countryside game. The industrial goods produced by exploited labor, bundled with rare earth leverage, um, metals like gold and silver. You just witnessed the black swan, like large scale black swan event on last Friday, and coerced or stolen technology like EVs, AI, advanced manufacturing, right? So all are used to force other countries to accept the RMB financial hegemony by pressure, by coercion, not trust. And then Xi Jinping demands independency and controllability because what? He is terrified of one scenario: being kicked out of SWIFT, just like the Russia was. That would collapse the regime system. So he builds walls, turns the financial system into an isolated island. Chinese labor value is trapped inside the CCP control. The wealth created by people have become Xi Jinping family's wealth and a weapon to confront the world. So this brings us back to the Cybercrime Prevention and Control Act. Even though it's currently labeled as a draft for discussion, but under Xi Jinping's dictatorship, that discussion, quote, is theater. And the timing matters because if you are inside China and you see a digital speech prison being built, what do? You pull your assets and run as fast as you can. That's exactly why the CCP needs the legal framework now, before the panic spreads. And we are just witnessing the history right this moment. Look at the bloodbath in the crypto world since last Friday, right? So that's exactly why the CCP needs the legal framework now before the panic spreads. And this law isn't meant to protect the people's wealth. It's meant to complete the total digital harvest of that wealth so it can be used as Xi Jinping's weapon. Let's talk about what it enables. Forced monitoring, number one. The law requires platforms to monitor suspicious behavior in real time. Even minor complaints about policy can trigger instant bans. Number two, total transparency. Real name verification for SIM cards, social accounts, payment accounts. You become fully transparent to the CCP. Number three, extraterritorial jurisdiction. Article 2 in this act breaks geographic limits. Chinese citizens abroad and foreign organizations or individuals providing services into China can be held legally liable if they harm national security or public interests. That means foreign speech, foreign services, even foreign platforms can be labeled illegal by CCP standards. And Article 54 and 55 grant massive discretion. If authorities decide an overseas entity or individual is spreading false information, quote, and the false quote can mean any truth unfavorable to Xi Jinping. They can freeze your assets, restrict entry to China, restrict your investment, and even confiscate domestic investments. In other words, your wealth, your family's safety, your entire life can be placed on Xi Jinping's chopping block with a legal stamp attached. So the conclusion is no one is safe. Look at Zhang Youxia. Look at Liu Zhengli, right? If you think your title protects you, no. If you think loyalty protects you, no. If you think personal ties protect you, not at all. Even former General Secretary Hu Jintao was hauled out of a meeting in front of the entire world and has not openly reappeared since. Xi Jinping has achieved a certain kind of fairness, I mean, quote, fairness, whether you are a high ranking official or an ordinary citizen, he holds your life, your family's life in his hands. That's the kind of fairness we're talking about. And that's why this is not just politics. This is actually survival. This battle began long ago, years ago. A credible future requires independent voices, independent platforms, independent institutions outside the CCP control. Eliminating the CCP and bring Xi Jinping to justice is the only choice for every Chinese person who wants to the freedom and safety. And we, as fellow fighters of the new federal state of China, will Keep you updated for the most recent development, and let's witness history together, and let's take down the CCP together.